Say hello. Okay now. Hi guys, it's Rachel and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be fun because we're going to talk about public transportation here in Metro Vancouver. So with that, we're going to dig deep into my experiences, kung ano yung mga naranasan ko commuting here in Vancouver, and then ikukumpara ko rin to sa experiences ko sa Manila, my home country, the Philippines. Later in this video, we're also going to break down the fare costs and the factors that affect it. And lastly, I'll also give you guys an update kung paano mag-commute habang may COVID, because I've been getting a lot of questions on how I get around still when I'm not driving. So we're going to answer that in this video as well. So, yes, sorry. Nalunok ko yung laway ko. Let's not waste any more time and let's hop right into it, shall we? Well, let's start with a little bit of real talk. When I was planning my move to Vancouver, to be honest guys, I didn't really think things through. My ultimate goal was to just reach the country and then slowly worry about things as it comes my way. That's pretty much my approach with everything else in life. But soon enough, I did stumble upon my first worry, which was, yes, I am finally here in Canada, but how do I get around? And then, you know, dun ko na-realize the great comfort that I had back home. Kasi when I was a kid, we had a driver that drove us around whenever, wherever. And then when I entered university, I also was fortunate enough to drive my own car that seemingly never ran out of gas. So, hindi ko talaga na-notice yung privilege ko until dumating ako sa Vancouver, where all of a sudden there was a major shift to my everyday routine. Actually, nung una pa nga natatakot pa ako mag-take ng public transportation or mag-commute dito sa Vancouver because I was carrying this notion of how public transportation works based on my experiences in the Philippines, thinking that it would also apply here in Canada. But guys, you know, I could never be more wrong. You know, things like allotting 3 hours of commute time or travel time from home to school or work. So for those of you that don't know, majority of the working class in the Philippines take public transportation, and they would have to wake up super early, like we're talking about 5 a.m. or even earlier, just to get to their 9 a.m. job on time. And this is quite unfortunate kasi something so simple such as having accessible and convenient public transit is still seen as a struggle in my home country. If this were an issue in Canada, I feel like more people would demand that their travel time be part of their working hours. Because honestly, you know, public transportation shouldn't be seen as a hassle. In fact, it should be seen as a tool that helps you get more work done. But anyway, I had this thinking with me, and I left home 3 hours before my class started, which was scheduled at 6 p.m. And then I arrived to school at 3 p.m. So yeah, parang ang daming sanang opportunities na magagamit ko yung oras more efficiently, but you know, it was at least a good lesson for me to know that commuting here wouldn't take me more than an hour. So there's that. Another one was yung practice namin back home in the Philippines, where you're supposed to carry your bag in front of you at all times to avoid getting robbed. So ito yung type of thinking ingrained in my head when I was back home. I would even get advised to like not dress too well, just dress simply because you don't want to be attracting any kind of attention when you're commuting. So I did that here. I tried to blend in, look so simple here. And then when I hopped on the train, to my surprise, ang daming nagte-text on their phones, ang daming naka-headphones, tas yung mamahaling pang headphones to guys, and then just listening to music, and basically they were even decked out from head to toe. And I was like, buti hindi pa kayo nananakawan, but actually I was in the wrong here for that kind of thinking, because people here are very respective of another person's personal space, and you are pretty much free to use your travel time as leisurely time for yourself. Last example was, and this is in the very rare instances that I would commute in the Philippines. So yeah, my parents would tell me to stay alert when I'm commuting, never doze off, and never look lost, because my carelessness could be someone else's opportunity. But funny enough, nawala ako dito. I was really clueless and didn't know where to go. But someone approached me and asked me if I need help and offered me directions, and I thought that was very kind. Mayroon pa nga isang instance na nakatulog din ako sa train, you guys. I was coming home from a late night class, and I was pretty I was pretty tired, and I fell asleep. But thankfully, there was a security on board that informed me I was on the last stop, and even gave me help or directions on how to reroute to get home on time, or at least get home safely. So I found that to be really nice. Like I'm reflecting on all these experiences, and it made me realize that it's pretty ironic. It seems like my life kind of went backwards in terms of comfort and privilege since I moved here to Vancouver. It's like a Cinderella story where I did reach my happily ever after. I'm in my dream country, and yet I took the pumpkin ride home. So yeah, but you know what, overall I'm grateful for this experience because it taught me two things. Number one is to be humble and more appreciative, kasi na-realize ko nga na ang dami kong na-take for granted back when I was in the Philippines, simply because it was already made for me. All I had to do was just get out of bed, get to class, and then go home. It's pretty simple, like 1, 2, 3. Whereas my lifestyle here, although it's more hectic now because there's so many more things that I need to worry about, there is that sense of fulfillment, and I feel more independent. So that's lesson number one. Second lesson that I learned was I made that comparison between Philippines and Canada, not to taint my country's transportation system, although to be honest it is kind of bad, but it's for me to realize that there are some things that I still have to learn how to unlearn, because if I carried that belief or practices from home here, it could potentially hinder my growth or prevent me from trying new things. So yes, the key word here is open-mindedness. I've definitely learned to widen my perspective on these because of these experiences. Okay, now that that's done, let's now move on to giving you guys a little bit more information about our public transportation here in Metro Vancouver. So number one, the name of it is TRANSLINK, so remember that. Second, they have an extensive bus system with bus stops at almost every corner. Third is they also run this automated train system called the SkyTrain, and it lets you travel within Metro Vancouver in less than an hour or an hour. And the fourth cool thing that I found out about TRANSLINK is they have sea buses. So they're like buses but on water. So that's pretty cool. So that was quite fast. So moving on, let's now focus on the most important part of this video, which is the transit fare costs. So fares are determined by 4 things. So number one is your age. So pag 19 to 64 years old ka, you belong to the adult fare group. And if you're outside that bracket naman, you'll be part of the concessions fare group. So yung concession fares, they pay a little cheaper compared to adult fares because they're mostly comprised of the children, the youth, seniors, and handicapped. And yung card doon, meron ding color-coded din yung group. So if you're paying for adult fares, you have a blue Compass card. And if you're paying for concession fares, you'll be holding an orange Compass card. Second naman, fare is also dependent on how many zones you travel in. So in the Metro Vancouver, it's composed of 3 zones. To know which areas are covered for each zone, I'll place the map somewhere in the screen, and I'll also link it below for your future reference. Third, your fare is also dependent on your travel time. So a single fare is valid for 90 minutes, whether you're taking the bus, the train, or the sea bus. So here, regardless of which vehicle you take and how many vehicles you take, you will be charged the fixed price as long as you travel to your destination within 90 minutes. Okay, number 4, payment type din may kinalaman kung magkano yung babayaran mo for your transit fares. So yeah, the price also changes depending on what you pay with. You have the option to pay with cash. You can also do contactless payments like Apple Pay, Samsung Pay, Google Pay, and TRANSLINK has its own Compass card, which is reloadable. So that was the orange and blue cards that I was referring to earlier. But of course, among the different types of payments, the TRANSLINK's Compass card will get you the cheapest fares. Okay, another important thing that's transportation related that I ought to share with you guys is called the UPass BC program. So basically, it's a list of schools participating in this program that covers your transit fares when you're a full-time student in that university or school. So yes, the school that I attended, BCIT, or British Columbia Institute of Technology, was part of this program. I was issued a monthly pass, which allowed me to travel in all 3 zones of Metro Vancouver for the month for free. It seemed like for free because I was just tapping in and out of the charging stations, but I actually just paid for it beforehand. But yes, I bought my Compass card at the London Drugs. So it's like a convenience store here in Vancouver. Then when I got home, I simply activated my card on the UPass website and I was all set. Okay, but after school, that's when the cost hit me. Hindi na ako estudyante at that time, so now I had to pay for transit fares out of pocket. So yeah, I started work right away as well, which meant that it was essential for me to take public transportation every day. And with that, it made perfect sense for me to purchase the monthly pass. At the time, I was living in Vancouver and I was also working in Vancouver. So technically, I should have paid for a 1 zone monthly pass. Unfortunately, the bus that I would take, because it was nearest to where I lived, would stop over at a train station that already belonged to another zone. And with that, I had to pay for the 2 zone monthly pass. That costs $131 per month. So in a year, I spent more than 1,500 Canadian dollars for transit fares. Damn, I didn't even know that I had that kind of money. If that bus had only stopped over within the 1 zone range, I would only need to pay for the 1 zone monthly pass that costs $98 per month. So that sucks because that meant that I could have saved $33 per month. In a year, that would have been almost 400 bucks. But oh well, I mean, it is what it is. Okay, so lastly, let's talk about taking public transit during COVID. So Rachel, nakakapag-explore ka pa ba? Nagko-commute ka pa ba habang may COVID? And well, to be honest guys, I haven't been taking public transportation when I'm doing my travels within the metro. Fortunately, we have a car to get around. I've only used public transit like 3 times, and it was mostly because I needed to quickly run some errands nearby, and at that time the car wasn't available then. when I do take public transit, I always wear a mask when I'm outside, and I always sanitize before going into the bus or the train, and also going out. What I did observe though is TRANSLINK is doing an amazing job of advocating these physical distancing, because they have barred some seats, and they also announced that by August 24, it is mandatory to wear face coverings or face masks while on board transit vehicles. So that's pretty good, because that's one step into conquering this pandemic together. Anyway, that's it. That's all I have for today. Hopefully I made good use of your time, and hopefully the experiences that I've shared with you guys today have been helpful. Of course, if you have any other questions or comments about this video or suggestions for my next video, feel free to comment it down below, and I'll try my best to get back to you on that. Again, maraming salamat for tuning in. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope that you guys are keeping your head above water, especially during this very awkward period in our lives. But yes, keep smiling, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers!